Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today is day one of, oh my gosh, we're already on week 5 of our mindfulness time together. Janine here with Wyoming Workplace Wellness. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and you are probably associated with LCCC if you are attending either live right now or watching the recording. So welcome. If you didn't get a chance to check in on last week's videos, highly recommend you do that. We talked about mindfulness and stress management. And for the Wednesday video, I think it's video number 8 out on the playlist, we did a yoga practice for stress relief and relaxation. And the reason I'm bringing up that yoga practice now is that this week we're focusing on mindfulness and improving our sleep. Sleep can start to get kind of funky this time of year for a lot of us. Sometimes it has to do with increased stress, what we're experiencing at school or at work, with family obligations. The holidays can often bring up stress for people, good or bad, right? Good stress is still stress. For some folks, it's great stress. It's an exciting, wonderful time. For some folks, it is not those things, and it's bad stress. But you know, the body doesn't discriminate really. Good stress, bad stress, it can affect us the same either way. In some of our previous times together, we talked about the way that stress impacts the body with higher blood pressure, increased risk for some kind of chronic diseases. And one of the things that stress can absolutely affect is our sleep. So that's what we're talking about today. And you know, as I'm doing this, I'm just going to lower this tripod a teeny bit. It seems kind of high for what we're doing today. We're not doing a yoga practice or anything today. So there, that seems a little bit better. All right. Thanks for bearing with me. So today we'll talk a little bit about mindfulness and movement for improving sleep. After today's talk on Wednesday, we're going to do another yoga practice. This time it's going to be some movement specifically for benefiting our sleep. As I mentioned, the one we did last week is also wonderful for that. And this will be a continuation, kind of building on that sequence that we did last Wednesday. So for today's session, let's go ahead and find our tall, comfortable seat, settling into our space. You should be pretty familiar with this now that we've been doing this. This is week 5. But go ahead and close down the eyes or just lower the gaze softly to a place on the floor in front of you. Allow the spine to grow nice and tall, feeling the sits bones rooting down into the floor or your chair. Maybe you're on a bed or a couch. Allow the crown of the head to extend up towards the sky. Bring your awareness inside of you now and locate your breath. Really notice the feeling of the air as it comes in through the nose, past the throat, through the heart space, all the way down into the belly before reversing that journey, emptying the belly, the heart, the throat, the nose. Maybe this awareness naturally begins to slow your breathing. But maybe notice that if that's happening for you. Keeping a percentage of your awareness on your breath. Do our body scan here, beginning at the soles of the feet. Slowly, slowly, like an airport scanner, moving up through the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs, the hips, Pausing along the way, if you notice any places that feel extra tight or sore or tense, and maybe breathing in there for a breath before moving on. Hips, belly, low back, your heart space. Notice your shoulders, maybe shrug them up and lower them just to add a little extra encouragement to release. Arms are soft and heavy. Notice how the hands are feeling today. Awareness comes to the throat, the jaw, the eyes, the brow, the crown of the head. Scanning the whole body, noticing any places that want to talk to you today. Anything sore, tight, tense, or maybe something feels especially great. Notice that too. Now continuing to keep a percentage of attention on your breath. Begin to check in with your emotional and mental self. Where's your head at? Where's your heart? Just notice any thoughts or feelings, anything persistent that's coming up for you. And if you can label it, that's stellar. Maybe you can feel that you have a certain recurring thought that really wants to just spin and spin. I'm thinking about that paper that's due. I'm thinking about my grocery list. My brain wants to worry about COVID or holiday plans. It's all totally valid. Non-judgment is the name of the game. Just notice where your head is. And then maybe tap in to notice if there are any accompanying feelings or emotions. And if you can label those, do that. I feel anxious. I feel worried. I feel happy. I feel joyful, excited, stressed, exhausted, frustrated, exuberant, melancholy. Maybe you feel more than one thing right now, which is, would make you a human being. So just notice, see how many feelings you can label. And if there's anything that is super dominant, don't try to change it. Just acknowledge it. I feel anxious right now. I feel joyful. I feel excited. I feel stressed. I'll take 2 more breaths here, just holding your entire self and your awareness, your body, your breath, your mind, your heart. Breathing into that with loving kindness towards yourself. Flutter the eyes open or keep them closed and soft as you listen to our conversation today. That's totally fun. I'm going to check in, make sure no one else has entered the waiting room. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and sleep. A lot of us experience sleep problems from time to time. It's super normal. Sometimes it's something that we just have to go through. But sometimes there are some things we can do to maximize our chances of having really, really deep, restful sleep. The text that I am referring to today is a little bit of a different one. I know in some of our other sessions, we've been working through bits and pieces of Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. Awesome book, of course. But I'm taking a little detour today. Oh, my light just went out. Taking a little detour today to visit this book, Yoga for Better Sleep. It's great. It's by Mark Stevens. It's a nice kind of mishmash of modern science, data-driven, evidence-based findings, and ancient yoga practices and principles. So it kind of takes both of those things and examines how they really agree with each other in terms of getting rest and getting sleep. So one thing I want to read a couple of passages from this. One is about the purpose of sleep. I think a lot of us understand the basics, right? We recharge, our, short-term converts into long-term memory. We have more energy the next day. We all know a lot of the basics, but there are some underlying purposes to sleep that maybe don't seem totally obvious. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about basic sleep hygiene. And then we'll finish our practice with a relaxing, calming breath that can set you up for good sleep. So we have a lot to get through. I'll get started. As I read, you're welcome to stay in your tall, comfortable seat. Maybe you want to get up and walk around as you listen. Maybe you want to lie down. That's totally great. But wherever you are, maybe close down the eyes, lower, soften the gaze, and just let the words kind of wash over you. Trusting that anything that's supposed to stick will, right? And if anything doesn't resonate for you, trust that it'll just float on by. So the purpose of sleep. Sleep is a part of nature's insistence upon nourishing and reintegrating the brain and restoring our bodies for everything we do and experience when awake. The primary purposes of sleep are restoration of brain functions affecting 4 main areas of life. 1, the ability to think clearly and with focused attention. It appears that sleep disturbance in otherwise healthy people impairs the prefrontal cortex, the nerve pathways leading to it, and the posterior parietal cortex, which is directly connected to the prefrontal cortex where we actively think. I think that's a fancy way of saying sleep affects our brains, right? Sleep disturbance affects our brains and our ability to think and focus and function. Sleep affects our ability to integrate new information or learn and recall what we've learned, our memory. Several related mechanisms can be affected by sleep disturbance or deprivation, including hormonal stress response to disrupted sleep, causing adrenal stress, corticosterone levels to rise, and consequently inhibiting the hippocampal neurogenesis that is required for full cognitive restoration during sleep. I tripped over that word, but what it's saying is that our memory and our ability to learn depends on sleep. And if our sleep is messed up, we're going to be affected the next day on learning. And I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? Going to class after a not great night of sleep and feeling like you just missed half of what the professor was saying. Sleep affects our emotional balance and flexibility. This is interesting. And I think this is one of those things that maybe most of us wouldn't pinpoint as something that sleep supports, right? Our emotional balance. Most of us know from personal experience that we are moodier after a poor night's sleep. Neuroscience is getting closer to explaining why sleep deprivation makes us more reactive to negative experiences, why our facial expressions are compromised, and why it is more difficult to accurately interpret others' emotions. That's really interesting to me. So it's not only our own emotions that are affected by a lack of sleep, but it actually might impair our ability to cue in to how others are feeling and how others are emoting out in the world. And last here, sleep provides optimal motor skills, such as walking along a serpentine path or balancing on our feet or hands. In a seminal study conducted in Harvard University's neurophysiology lab in the early 2000s, sleep researchers found strong evidence for brain state-dependent motor skill development, including relationships between sleep stage and task complexity, with complex skills more dependent on REM or REM sleep, and simple tasks more dependent on NREM, N2 sleep. So what I'm understanding from this is that sleep affects our ability to think, our ability to pay attention, our ability to learn and remember what we've learned, our emotional balance and our ability to understand others' emotions, and our motor skills. I mean, that's like all of life almost is affected by sleep, and sleep disturbance can have a really adverse impact on that. And I hope this isn't stressing you out, but I think it's good to have a nice foundational understanding of why sleep should be a priority for many of us in our lives. And I know that I don't try to use the word should very often. My general philosophy is that a lot of us need to stop shoulding ourselves in our daily lives. But on this one, I think I'm going to stand by it. Sleep should be a priority for us when and if it's possible. So let's move on to talking a little bit about basic sleep hygiene. This is going to be stuff that a lot of us know, but it never hurts to be reminded. And maybe it's been a while since you thought about these things, and there might be a new way to integrate them into your current life, your current bedtime routine, maybe just small shifts that you make in, the hour leading up to bedtime can make a giant difference for you. So according to this book, Yoga for Better Sleep, there are a variety of choices one can make to sleep better, with even small changes in behavior, environmental conditions, and other sleep-related factors often making a significant improvement. In yoga parlance, these choices are mostly what we call saucha, which is a Sanskrit word for purity practices, or what is conventionally called sleep hygiene. Choices about sleep schedule, sleep environment, food consumption, and exercise all matter. Perhaps none so much as choices about consuming alcohol, marijuana, caffeine, and nicotine. Sleep hygiene embraces the 5 basic points about stimulus control. Okay, so here's your 5 tips. 1, go to bed only when you're sleepy. This is really hard for me. I have this ingrained in my mind, like 10:30 is lights out, right? A lot of us had that kind of a schedule when we were children. We had to set bedtime. But going to sleep when you're sleepy is a really important thing. And if you start to notice and start to pay attention to this, you might be surprised at what kind of patterns show up. Maybe you're like my partner who gets sleepy every night around 7 p.m. And then he ends up staying up till midnight or 1 in the morning. Just noticing those kind of behaviors. Surely you don't want to, go to bed for the night at 7 p.m. But if you start to notice, wow, I get sleepy really early, maybe that helps you shift your bedtime or think about some other patterns and routines to see if you can provide more rest and sleep for yourself. Number 2, if you are unable to sleep within 20 minutes at the beginning of the night or upon waking during the night, get out of bed until you're sleepy again. Don't lay there tossing and turning, stressing, watching the clock. Now I only have 3 hours left. Now I only have 2.5 hours left. If after 20 minutes your mind is still spinning, you're still awake, get up. Maybe brainstorm during the day while you're awake, some relaxing things you could do in the middle of the night if you experience insomnia in that way. Maybe making a warm drink, reading a book, spending time with a pet. Pets are usually happy to see us in the middle of the night if you have a little dog or kitty. Maybe gazing out the window at the quiet street, maybe listening to music. I think avoiding screens is probably wise. We have a lot of data that, blue light from a screen can affect our sleep. So if you wake up in the middle of the night, you're awake for 20 minutes, not falling back asleep, hop out of bed, try to do something not screen focused if you can. Number 3 tip, wake up and get out of bed at the same time every morning, including on weekends or other days when you might not need to get out of bed. That's a really hard one. That's really hard for me. But sleeping in, as tempting and as wonderful as it can seem at the time, can really mess up your sleep patterns and your sleep schedule. So maybe just begin to notice. Maybe keep your alarm on your next day off and wake up at your normal time, but then, have a treat prepared for yourself. Maybe you make a special breakfast that day. Maybe you get an extra walk, peaceful walk in by yourself. Maybe you play a video game that you love, whatever it is. Maybe, tell yourself, I'm going to get up at the same time, but I'm going to reward myself with that extra time by doing something that's good for me that I really love to do. See how it works out. Journal your thoughts after you do it so you can return to that. Number 4, this is really important, especially now that we're starting to turn towards winter. Try to get natural light exposure throughout the day. Go outside, open the window. Even if it's really, really bitter cold, if you can just go outside around noon, 5-10 minutes even, to breathe fresh air and get some sunlight, that's going to help you. Having a window open where you can have natural light can really be helpful. There's also, I think they're called happy lights, but maybe you've heard, a lot of times they're sold for seasonal affective disorder. But they're lights that kind of mimic sunlight that you can have at your desk or in your house. You could look into something like that if you're having a lot of sleep disturbance and just see if it helps to turn those on in the morning. Maybe keep it on, till noon and then shut that off and just see how it goes. Number 5 is to minimize napping. Nap if you must, but naps can mess up your nighttime sleep. So maybe think about it. If you were up a ton last night, maybe a power nap is legit the only way you're going to get through the day to day. But maybe don't make napping a habit. Try to save your sleep for bedtime as an adult. Little babies and kids need naps. Older folks might need naps. But if you're, ages 18 to 65, see if you can get away with powering through the day and then having a nice solid night's sleep as opposed to napping. So whatever the realities of your life, it is important to do your best to establish and maintain a regular daily rhythm of sleep for 7 to 8 hours, ideally with the consistent rhythm of sleep and wake periods. This is the first point of healthy sleep hygiene. Getting less causes or is associated with a wide variety of physical, mental, and emotional health problems, and so is getting more than 9 hours of sleep. So that's interesting. There's such a thing as too much sleep. All right, so here's some suggestions for in the evenings, some things that you could think about. And this is really where our mindfulness practice comes into better sleep. Mindfully thinking about your sleep, noticing your sleep, noticing how you feel after different amounts of sleep, different bedtimes, is going to really help you tune into your own body's needs and your own intuitive sleep pattern. My sleep pattern is going to be different than yours. Yours is going to be different than your partner's or your family members. Your sleep is going to be unique to you. So our first stop is going to be using our mindfulness skills that we've been building over the last few weeks to tune in and think about our sleep and our body's need for and reaction to sleep. But here's some suggestions. Take them or leave them for an evening routine. Try to have your last meal 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. Try not to snack within an hour before going to bed. If your body is trying to digest stuff, that can make it so it's harder for it to just slow down and rest and fall into a nice deep sleep. Refrain from having bright light exposure within the last 2 hours before you go to bed. For a lot of us, this can be screens. There are things we can do on our phones My phone I know has like a wind down feature. I can turn it black and white. Um, there's different ways to kind of make it more sleep friendly in the evenings. Most cell phones, you can set a timer maybe around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. It automatically will go to that nighttime mode or wind down mode or whatever it's called. TVs and stuff, not great for our sleep. So just maybe think about that and start noticing, oh, having TV time right up until the moment I fall asleep and then I'm up 1, 2, 3 in the morning could have something to do with it, but you know your body best. So just noticing, practicing your mindfulness skills around screens and bright lights. Try not to fall asleep anywhere except in bed. Beware of comfy couches close to the television. Says that in the book. That wasn't me. Turn off all your lit screens within an hour of bed. We just talked about that. Refrain from consuming alcohol within 1 hour of going to bed. Makes sense, right? Alcohol can absolutely mess up our sleep. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So stopping, any drinking that you're doing at least an hour before you go to bed is going to help stack the deck towards a good night's sleep. Engage in calming activities within the last 2 hours before going to bed, such as a basic yoga sequence, like the one we did last week or the one we'll do this week. Read your children to sleep if you have kiddos, have a calm conversation, listen to calming music, write in your diary or your journal. I'm partial to journaling in the evening. I think it's a great time to just kind of go over what happened today. What do you hope happens tomorrow? Are you hoping to call anything in as you're sleeping tonight? Or do you hope to wake rested and peaceful? Write it all down. Drink a calming tea or meditate. Do your mindfulness check-in. Find your tall, comfortable seat, tune into your breath, scan your body, scan your mind and your heart, label anything you find there and settle in and just center and turn inward for 5-10 minutes. And that'll help calm you down and prepare you for a good night's sleep. In the morning, there's some things you can do also to benefit your sleep. Get out of bed within a few minutes of waking. Try not to just lay there. I am certainly guilty of hitting the snooze button multiple times. If that's you, you know who you are. Maybe make a commitment to yourself tomorrow. I get to hit the snooze button one time, but then I'm up and at 'em. Maximize your direct morning light exposure. Get as much light as you can in the morning. And we already talked about some strategies for that, going outside, opening windows, maybe a happy light if you have one. Do a stimulating yoga session or another kind of a workout. Try to get your heart rate up in the morning. Maybe you just run the stairs in your house or your apartment building. Maybe you find some yoga on YouTube and do some sun salutations. I love doing those in the morning. Maybe you have another workout that you love. You go for a run, you go for a walk, you get on a stationary bike, a treadmill. Maybe it's just jumping jacks and push-ups. That's awesome. That's old school. Something to get your heart rate up and moving first thing in the morning is really going to help you when the day winds down to nighttime and help you sleep. The last little thing I wanted to touch on here before we do the breathing exercise, there's some tips in terms of your bedroom and your bed. Keeping your bed for sleep when and if you can, I think is the underlying message. Try not to eat in bed, do homework in bed, if you can avoid watching TV in bed. It depends on your space and what you have. But try to really maintain your bed as a sacred space. Maybe it's for connection with your partner, but also for connection with yourself and deep, deep rest. So I hope some of that was helpful. I know it was kind of a lot. Most of it's common sense, but sometimes it's good to just hear about it and think about it and reevaluate where you are right now, especially moving into the month of December where the holidays are gonna get nuts, school is gonna get nuts, you have finals, your work might get more busy, especially if you work retail or something like that. So maximizing and prioritizing your sleep, knowing that you are absolutely worth it, you deserve to have deep rest, is really important. So the last thing we're going to do today, I promised you I would teach you a calming breath. So if you're lying down, you can stay lying down. If you're sitting up, maybe just take a moment to adjust your seat if you need to, maybe uncrossing and then recrossing the legs the opposite way, which is what I'm doing, finding a nice long spine, close down the eyes, tune into your breath, just like we did in the beginning. This technique is called box breathing. Maybe you've done it with me before. And the reason it's called box breathing is that we're going to inhale for 4 counts, hold at full for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold it empty for 4 counts. So it's like each section of the breath is drawing the line of a box. So we'll begin by emptying the lungs completely, pushing out any stale air. Inhale to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it full. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it empty. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it full. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it empty. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it full. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it empty. 2, 3, 4. Last time. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it full. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it empty. 2, 3, 4. Allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Notice how your body feels. Box breathing is a really great way to calm the body, to lower the heart rate, and to settle the mind. It's something you can do lying in bed right before you drift off. It's something you could do at the end of an evening meditation. It's great to do with little ones if you have children, or even a partner or a roommate if you have somebody around and you like to practice together. It's a pretty amazing tool. So I hope you use it. I hope you like it. Join us on Wednesday and we'll do some mindful movement to maximize sleep, a little restorative yoga sequence. So I hope to see you then. In the meantime, take care of yourself and others, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.